Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON founder Acharya BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathamritam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhamritamsha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vacha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome this evening to Sri Sri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra God Nitaya here at ISKCON Sri Jagannath Mandir Shasharanpura. So yesterday we began the discussion on what is sadhu bhakti. As we mentioned in Deshamrit, there are these 6 items which are favorable for pure devotional service. And these 6 items ensure complete success in pure devotional service. Utsaha, Nishaya, Dhairya, Tat Karma Pravartana, Sangatyaga, Sato Vritti, Shraddha Bhakti, Prasidhi. So within these 6 items, as we mentioned, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written essays on all these 6 favorable as well as unfavorable items. We started discussing one of the 6th favorable item, that is sadhu vritti or sato vritti. So I will summarize what we have discussed up till now yesterday and then continue our discussion. So we saw this verse yesterday, how these 6 items undoubtedly assure complete success in pure devotional service. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions that there are 2 kinds of sadhus, the grahasthas and the grahadhyas. And he describes what is called as the vritti of both the grahasthas and the grahadhyas. Vritti means occupation. And some things are common. The vritti of the grahasthas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur deals separately, and the vritti of the renunciates he deals separately. And then what is common in both, he gives that list also. So we mentioned yesterday that we only discussed in these two classes what is the vritti for the grahasthas. Of course, we would like to discuss about the vritti for the renunciates, and let us see when we get that opportunity. So the meaning of vritti has two meanings. One is propensity and lifestyle. And propensity means one's nature or swabhav. And that nature or swabhav, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying it is the natural propensity of the living entities, dharma. It is the natural propensity. And yesterday in this context, we discussed what is the gauna vritti and the mukhya vritti. So the gauna vritti has to do with our conditioned nature, which we have acquired, being in this material existence. The mukhya vritti is of the vritti of the soul. The mukhya vritti has to do with the souls which has natural and spontaneous attraction towards Krishna. So yesterday we defined this and we saw this chart. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur starts explaining this concept of vritti, which is very, very important. Those who are in knowledge, according to one's nature, acting according to one's nature brings happiness in this life and in the next. And one should pass his life in his natural occupation based on his swabhav. And then he can attain devotional service, which is free from the modes. He can attain nirgun bhakti. If he doesn't do this, then he'll fall into irreligion and he'll not be able to make advance. And then he quotes again, Vritya Swabhava Vrittaya. One has to act according to his nature. And Shane, step by step, gradually, acting like this, giving up the actions, he can attain the state which is beyond the modes. And this, beyond the modes, to clarify this, he gives a quotation from the Gita, that how one can attain devotion to me, which is Nirgun Bhakti, And he clarifies that these are the two words used in the Bhagavatam, that is Nirgunam and Mad Apashanam. And both, state that this devotion is transcendental devotion. So the first thing what we need to do is subdue the modes of passion and ignorance and situate ourselves in the mode of goodness. And everything, the sattviki objects, activities, time and place, we have to pass our life in such a way that we dovetail everything with devotional service. So coming to the mode of goodness is very, very important. And then he goes on to list the propensities of the human beings in the modes of goodness. And he lists these 20 qualities. We saw this 20 qualities yesterday. And the last 20th one is dealing with Bhagavata Dharma. You can perform Bhagavad Dharma if you are more situated in the mode of goodness. So based on these qualities, then there is differentiation based on Varna. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And what is the duty of a Bhikshuka? What is the duty of a Vanaprastha? What is the duty of a Grahastha? What is the duty of a Brahmachari? From that propensity, you can understand. And accordingly, he has to engage. And based on that, when one, according to his nature, acts to, maintain his livelihood, then he is properly situated. And for that, yesterday we discussed this very important concept that the gross and the subtle bodies have to be made favorable for devotional service. And the gross body has its needs. The subtle body has its needs. The gross body needs, a house, household items, drinks. The subtle body needs proper knowledge and proper occupation. And one should make them favorable to devotional service and situate them above the monks. Situate above the monks. And then, by enriching the mode of goodness, one should diminish and defeat passion and ignorance and make goodness prominent. And only when the mode of goodness is completely under the control of devotional service, then we can come to Nirguna being. So yesterday we were discussing how to go to Shuddha Sattva platform, we have to be situated in Sattva. From Sattva, we can go to Shuddha Sattva platform. And yesterday we discussed this flow chart where the soul, which is favorable for devotional service, the gross and the subtle body has to be properly, their needs have to be taken care. And then they have to be made favorable for devotional service. And then you have to situate them above the three modes. And then real devotional service begins. And in that context, Bhaktyaloka Thakur mentions how Varnashram is the best vehicle through which we can do this. And he goes on to the discussion about Varnashram. So by Varnashram, we can come to the platform of pure devotional service very easily. And he quotes from the Sanatana Shiksha, Mahaprabhu's quotations from the 11th canto, that how these varnas have come from the universal body of the Purusha, and one who does not worship according to his varna and ashram, he will fall down. Then the question comes that Ramananda Rai, in his conversation with Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu rejected varnashram. Eto bhai, this is external. So then why Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving emphasis here? So that he resolves that although Mahaprabhu rejected this as external and give a higher conclusion, but we have to understand Mahaprabhu's statement. Ramananda Rai, varnashram is meant to regulate the gross and subtle bodies. But without engaging in devotional service, there is no gain. Shama evahi evalam. So, although the process of varnashram is the only means for purification, it is still external. So, this also we discuss more in the Sri Harinam Chintamani seminar, that why it is important that we take first and second initiation, especially the second initiation for deity worship, to regulate and purify our gross and subtle bodies, and ultimately be situated in the mode of goodness so that we can chant Shuddha. So similarly, to purify the conditioned state, the varnashram is the best vehicle because it helps us to purify. Otherwise, the piety and impiety will act as an obstacle in our practice of pure devotion. So that's why it is quoted here, Shama evahi kevalam. So, Mahaprabhu did not discard varnashram. If that was the case, then why would Mahaprabhu himself follow the sannyas ashram duties? And why would he give instruction to his grahasthas to follow the grahastha ashram duties? So as long as the material body is there, then varnashram must be followed, and it should remain under full control and domination of bhakti. And only when one's supreme occupation, that is paradharma, that is pure devotional service, becomes mature, then gradually it can be given up, or it can be given up at the time of death. And the last half part of the verse, Ramananda Rai had quoted, Vishnur aradite panta nanya tattosha karanam, that there is no other alternative to serve Vishnu. This is the only way to achieve the life of a devotee. And that is why there are human beings according to their nature. This classification and division is there. Although Varnashram is today not existing, it is there in a seed form. Because this principle of classification based on Varna, the three modes, is eternal. It is an eternal principle. So it is there in a seedling form. So according to one's svabhava, one has to develop his occupation and accordingly the means of livelihood. If one accepts the means of livelihood for others, then it will lead to misfortune. And birth is not the criteria. If you see the lakshanas, based on the lakshanas, you have to identify the nature of a person. And it goes from the seventh category. So based on our svabhava, there is a particular kind of swakarma. And based on that, you will have to have your swadharma. And even Sridhar Swami also makes this point that seeing the characteristics, one has to ascertain the varna, not on birth, not on birth. Now, one Mahatma has said that one should follow the path of the Mahajans. And the Mahajans are of two kinds, the previous Mahajans and the later Mahajans. The later Mahajans are one who came after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it is superior to follow the later Mahajans. That is the process we need to adopt as Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Here is where we stopped our discussion yesterday. Now we continue. What is the proper occupation? To know this, one should see the behavior of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers. Because now it is decided that we follow the later Mahajans. So what is our behavior? We see, because this is Sadhu Vritti, following in the footsteps of previous Acharyas. So you just see how the previous Acharyas have behaved. You follow that. As far as possible, I will try to briefly compile them in this essay. So briefly, Bhaktyaloka Thakur is saying that he is going to compile. First, I will write about the behavior and occupation of the Grahasthas as found in the character of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees. So he is going to now list the behavior and occupation of the Grahasthas as seen in the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself was a Grahastha. And then his followers, many of his followers were Grahasthas. So now let's go into the vrittis of the Grahasthas. So the first thing, now you need not note this because I will share the slides. There are around 40 in list. So you can just hear, and if you have any questions, then we will take up at the end of the discussion. So what are the duties one should perform? So he starts listing, and he'll start giving evidence from either Chaitanya Charitamrita or Chaitanya Bhagavat. As a support for his devotional service, a householder should find a suitable wife. So why should one get married? To support his devotional service. That is the reason. So he gives evidence from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Rahasta Hailamaive Shahi Graha Dharma Grihini Vina Graha Dharma Nasho Nahoeshubhana. Since I am remaining at home, it is my duty to act as a grahastha. Without a wife, there is no meaning to householder. So if one is staying at home, then he has to get married. So in one of the lectures, Prabhupada says, that one, if he is trying to practice brahmacharya at home, he said, what is this bachelor daddy? He said. Tell them. So if one is staying at home, then he has to be in that ashram, grahastha. And that is why Grahastha means home. He has to have a wife. Because without a wife, there's no meaning to household life. So this is the first duty. Next. Now interesting. Wife means children will be there. So while maintaining religious family life with one's wife, sons and daughters are born in the form of Krishna's servants and maid servants. To nourish them is called maintaining the family. Very, very interesting. You have to note down here. So whenever, family people introduce, this is my son, this is my daughter. But how do you introduce them? Here, Dr. Thakur is saying, they are Krishna's sons, Krishna's daughters, who have given us to serve Krishna. So they are born in the form of what? Krishna's servants and maid servants. So this is the mood how a grahastha should live. And to nourish them, why? Because they are Krishna's servants. Yes or no? So in that respect, we have to nourish them. So Srila Prabhupada in one of the Bhagavatam purports says that, the family people should take care of their children because they are Krishna's parts and parcels. So they should be more attentive in taking care of them. So that is the mood there Bhaktivinoda Thakur has established. In these activities, there is need of wisely accumulating wealth. So to maintain the family, one has to accumulate wealth. So even when one works in a company or a factory, Srila Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita purport says that he is not working for the company boss. He is working for his boss at home. And his boss is Thakurji at home. So acting as his servant, he is working in that company. So that should be the mood. One should work to accumulate wealth. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives a reference for this. In this regard, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said in Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhu bole parivar mein khanatuman, nirva ke mete tabe, hoibe sabar, grahastha hai na iho, chahiye sanchay na kaile kutumbha bhara nahi hoy. The Lord said, there are so many members in your family. How will you maintain everyone? Being a householder, one needs to save money. Sanchay, you have to do Sanchay. Because he is not doing so, it is very difficult for him to maintain his family. So Mahaprabhu is very, very practical. Third, after having a wife, then there are children. Then children should be educated. One must be educated at a proper age, but he should not study atheistic literature. Now the quote is from Chaitanya Bhagavat. Pade keha lok Krishna bhakti jani bare, se yadi naila tabe vidya ki kare, vishaya mandanda sava kichu na jani, vidya made dhana made, vaishnava nachini, bhagavad padiyo ka or buddhi nash. Why do people study? Pade ki lo kene lo. Education is only for understanding devotional service of God. Krishna Bhakti Janivar. If you miss this point, then what is the use of your education? Everyone is blinded by pride and sense gratification. Vishaya Madanda Vidya Madhe. Being proud of their education and wealth. Vidya Madhe and Dhan Madhe. Madha means madness. They fail to recognize the Vaishnava. If one studies Srimad Bhagavatam improperly, his intelligence is polluted, buddhina. So this should be the central theme for education. Fourth. Serving guests is the principal duty of grahasthas. This is the Lord's instruction. Atiti Seva. Chaitanya Bhagavat. Grahasthara Mahaprabhu Shikaya Dharma Atitira Seva Grahasthara Bhul Karma Akaitave Chitta Sukhe Yara Ena Shakti Taha Karile Vale Atiti Bhakti. In this way, the Lord satisfied all his guests and taught the world how to behave as a perfect householder. The foremost duty of a householder is to serve his guests. Atitira Seva Grahasthara Bhul Karma. If a householder happily serves his guests, without duplicity, akaitavachita sukhe yara, and according to his ability, yara ena shakti, he is considered hospitable, atithi bhakti. So that is also a link of our devotion. Fifth, a grahastha should act with simplicity in his dealings with people. He should not allow any kind of cheating or duplicity in his heart. Chaitanya Bhagavat. Ateva grahe tumi Krishna bhajaniya kutinati parihari ekanta aya. Therefore, go back to your home and worship Lord Krishna with full attention, giving up all duplicity. So, a grahastha should be very simple in his dealings. He should not have any duplicity or cheating in his heart. It is the principal duty of a grahastha to serve senior persons. Chaitanya Charitamrita. Grahastha vaya karive pita matara sevat ihayate ehi tushkarovena Lakshmi Narayan. Later I shall become a householder and then serve my parents. For this action will very much satisfy Lord Narayan and his wife, the goddess of fortune. So it is very, very important that we serve the seniors, especially here it is mentioned Mata Pitara Sevan. I know a devotee who was staying in the Gulf country and their parents were back home here in India, and he was like in a very big position, like an executive in the company. And his remaining brothers were not ready to take care of the parents because they were not devotees. So he left his job and just came back to India just to take care of his parents. And Krishna is maintaining him nicely. Although he has left his job, he's not working for the last 3 years. And he is firm and determined that until they are there on this planet, I will serve them. So this is such an important principle. A householder should take the principle of renunciation to heart, but he should not simply dress as a prince. So to Raghunath Das Goswami, this instruction is given. I'll just read the translation. Be patient and return home. Mahaprabhu is telling Raghunath Das Goswami. Don't be a crazy fellow. By and by, you will be able to cross the ocean of material existence. You should not make yourself a show bottle devotee and become a false renunciant. Markat vairagya na karo loka dikhan. For the time being, enjoy the material world in a befitting way and do not become attached to it. Yatha yoga vishaya bhujya anasaktaha. So this is very important. You can enjoy this world, but you should be detached. This is to Raghunath Das Goswami. Within your heart, you should keep yourself very faithful. Antare nishta kare, but externally you may behave like an ordinary man. Higher loka vyavahara. Thus Krishna will soon be very pleased. Achiret Krishna toma karebe and deliver you from the clutches of fire. So he should take the principles of renunciation to his heart and not exhibit externally. A householder is duty bound to work for the benefit of everyone. Again, Chaitanya Charitamrita. One who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India, Bharat Bhumite Hoila Manish Janmyar, should make his life successful, Janma Sarthak Kari, and work for the benefit of all people. Kara Para Vikar. My dear child, continue dancing, chanting, performing Sankirtan in the association of devotees. Nacho Gaho Bhakta Sabha Kare Sankirtan. Further, go out and preach the value of chanting Krishna. For by this process, you'll be able to deliver all the following steps. Krishna Muddeshi Tara Sarva Jnana. Now, this principle, Janma Sarthak, one should perfect his life and then Kara Parupkar. Now, this principle has to apply very judiciously. So, as far as possible, whatever he has acquired by his practice of Krishna consciousness, as much as possible, we should be able to extend and give it to others. But the deeper meaning is also that one should also practice his spiritual practices to a certain degree and attain maturity, and then he should feel the need that I want to share this with others. But there is a balanced approach because this world is in an emergency. There is a war outgoing there. Everyone is suffering the miseries of birth and death. And sometimes when there is war, even the doctors who are still undergoing training and education, they are sent out to save the soldiers. So similarly, we should act in that perspective. 9. In this practice of devotional service, this association has been prohibited. Even in streets Kirtan, one should chant and dance in the association of pure devotees. One should not chant in the association of non-devotees. A householder should fully depend on the will of the Lord in all his activities. So if Krishna wants, maybe I'll buy a house next to the temple. If Krishna wants, we should always depend on the will of the Lord. Sunamata Ishwara Radhim Samsar Swatantra Bhaite Shakti Nahite Kahar. Listen, dear mother, the whole world is under the control of Lord. No one has the power to become independent. 11. A householder should cautiously give up the association of non-devotees, women, and uxorious people. Uxorious people means, those who are men who are fond of women or those who are of not good character. So he should cautiously give up this association. And this is a very famous verse. Asat Sangatya He Vaishnavacha Sri Sangeet Ek Asadu Krishna Bhakta Ar. A Vaishnava should always avoid the association of ordinary people. Common people are very much materially attached, especially to women. Vaishnavas also should avoid the company of those who are not devotees of Lord Krishna. Well, by following his prescribed duties, a Grahastha Vaishnava should accumulate wealth for his maintenance. He should not accumulate wealth by sinful means. Now, what is the problem if you accumulate wealth by sinful means? What happens? We were discussing yesterday that our Svabhava, Gauna Vritti, if it is not in the mode of goodness, we cannot come to pure devotion service. And in our occupation, if we acquire wealth through impious means, through sinful means, then in the chitta there are sinful vasanas or sinful reactions. And that will obstruct our practice of devotional service, even in the sadhana stage. So that is why it should be followed. Now Nityananda Prabhu is telling this to the thieves who had come to do Nityananda Prabhu, and Nityananda Prabhu transformed them. And I'll just read the translation. Now listen carefully, O Brahmana, I will take the responsibility for all your previous misdeeds if you do not repeat them. No more aggression, violence, looting, or murder. These records were Brahmanas. The leader was a Brahmana. That was his profession. Give up forever. Lead a religious life and chant the holy names of the Supreme Lord. Then later you can also save others. Go and meet other dacoits and murderers and bring them to the path of pure religious life. Because a murderer only has his sangha of other murderers. So Nityananda Prabhu is giving that special instruction to them. A householder should not hanker for another's wife or prostitutes. This is exhibited by Lord Krishnadas, the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was accompanied by his servant Krishnadas. Ursaira Sangha Rahe Krishnadas Brahman. He was a Brahman, but he met with the Bhattaharis there. Bhattahari Sahat Mahan Bhaila Darshanam. with women and the Bhattaris allured the Brahman Krishna, Stri Dhana Dekhantara Loba Janmaila, who was simple and gentle, are a Sarala Vimrera Buddhi Nasha Kaila. By the virtue of their bad association, they polluted his intelligence. So Mahaprabhu, when he had gone into South India too, he had his assistant Brahmachari Brahmana. And in Kerala, the Bhattaharis with the women allured this and they captured him and got to his tent. So we can imagine when the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself was there with his servant Brahmachari, still he got allured by Maya. And it is mentioned he was Saral, he was simple. The Lord protected that Brahmana from the women's clutches by pulling him by the hair. The word Sarala Vipra means a weak-hearted young Brahmana. So he had that weak-heartedness. So that is the meaning of Sarala Brahmana here. Now, this instruction is very difficult to follow. He is a real householder who chants 100,000 names every day. Pure devotees should accept prasad in the house of such grahasthas. Chaitanya Bhagavat. Prabhu Bole Jana Laksheshwara Valikare. The Lord replied, do you know who is the Laksheshwar? Pratidina Lakshanam E Grahana Kare. He is someone who chants 1 laksha, 100,000 holy names every day. Say Janira Namahami, Holy Laksheshwar. I call such a person a Laksheshwar. Tatha Vishu Amar Navayo Anya Ghare. I only take meals in that person's house, no one else. Now, Srila Prabhupada also in his Updeshamrita posts. Sometimes you might find, it's too much. But Prabhupada in his Updeshamrita is quoting this. And for us as sadhakas, Prabhupada set up the standard as minimum 16 rounds. And minimum 16 rounds means 16 good rounds, 16 attentive rounds. So, this is the subject in itself. But suffice to tell here that during Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Sarita, this time, the standard for Grahasthas was to chant 64 rounds, not for the Brahmacharis in the sentences. Because Bhakti Siddhanta Sarita used to say that the Brahmacharis and sannyasis are engaged in deity worship, preaching. They are quite busy. But the Grahasthas are out working out there and they have to deal with the material energy. So for them, Bhakti Siddhanta Sarita had this view. It was not so much, important that those who are in the mud, they should practice it. And during Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur's time, both the Grahasthas and the Brahmacharis were following this principle. And many would come and complain to Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur that we are not getting time to do 64 rounds. So Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur is to say that the only reason you are not getting time because you are engaged in prajalpa. You waste your time talking other subjects. If you get taste for chanting, then it will happen. So at least Prabhupada, the Updeshamrita says that one should be sincere and he should have this goal in mind and he should chant attentively his rounds and try to spread the Krishna consciousness. Next. There is no difference between Smartas and Vaishnavas regarding the following the course of religion. The Lord has said in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Sometimes an exalted Vaishnava exhibits the same activities as a materialist person. Adama janare achar ena dharma. Adhikari Vaishnavo kare se karma. One can understand this by the mercy of Krishna. Krishna kripa is saying iha jani mere pare. Otherwise, in this dilemma, one may be liberated or destroyed. E sab sankata eha mare, eha tare. Very interesting. The purport is that the conviction in the heart of a Vaishnava is independent. Please understand this statement. If one is a Vaishnava, then he can understand the conviction in the heart of another Vaishnava who is engaged in the same activities as those of the Smartas. One who cannot understand this cannot respect Vaishnavas, and he thereby goes to. So many years back, in Orissa and Bengal, there is Jalera Fal. What is a Jalera Fal? Fish. This is called a Jalera Fal. So they don't consider it as non-veg or eating meat. So there was one Vaishnava who used to buy fish from the fish market. Right in front of his house, he used to dry the fish. When you dry the fish, what happens? It smells like anything. So it is mentioned that the purpose is the conviction in the heart of a Vaishnava is independent. And if one is a Vaishnava, then he can understand the conviction of the heart of another Vaishnava. So many people used to think that what kind of a Vaishnava he is. First of all, he eats fish. And that too openly right in the front of his house, he keeps fish for drying. But this Vaishnava's conviction was very deep. He did not want anyone to disturb his bhajan. And that is why this house, he used to sit and do his bhajan so that nobody will come and disturb him. So those who knew his heart would know the deep inner purpose, why he is doing that activities. So the point is that unless one knows somebody's heart, you cannot understand the conviction with which he is going. So by externally judging, one can either elevate himself or degrade himself. That's the point being made here. The Lord has explained the duties of householders in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhu कहना Krishna Seva, Vaishnava Seva, Nirantar Kara Krishna Sankirtan. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, without cessation, Nirantara, continue chanting the holy names of Krishna, Lord Krishna. Whenever possible, serve him and his devotees, the Vaishnavas. So this is the conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Kulina Gramvasis. So every year from Bengal they used to come to Puri and 4 months spent with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or attending all the festivals. So the Kulina Gramvasis were Grihasthas and they asked Mahaprabhu, what is the duty of a Grihastha? He said, Vaishnava Seva and Nam Sankirtan. So the second year, who is a Vaishnava when they ask? Vaishnava is one who takes a holy name once. Once he says Hare Krishna, he is a Vaishnava. The next year when he asked the same question, Mahaprabhu gave a different understanding. One who takes what? Nirantara Krishna, continuously the name. So Mahaprabhu is now defining a Madhyamadhikari. So it is a duty of a Grihastha to constantly chant the holy names of the Lord and serve the Vaishnavas and the Lord with the help of his relatives and by the wealth he has earned through his pious life. Regarding serving the Vaishnavas, one should know that there are 3 types of non-duplicitous devotees. Serving such Vaishnavas is called Vaishnava Seva. So there are these 3 types, the Kanishta Vaishnavas, the Madhyama Vaishnavas and the Uttama Vaishnavas. So all 3 is mentioned. 17. There is no need to gather many Vaishnavas by invitation. Interesting. Whenever a Vaishnava comes for any purpose, he should be properly served with care. By gathering many Vaishnavas, one may commit offenses. As stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bahuta Sanyasi Yadiyasi Ekathani Sammana Karitenare Aparada Paya. Now Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is telling this to Mahaprabhu after he was transformed. He invites Mahaprabhu, please come for lunch. But Mahaprabhu also had his other sannyasi god brothers. He said, I want to only invite you because many other sannyasis come, I will not be able to take properly care and I might commit offense. If all the sannyasis come together, it would be not possible for me to pay them proper respects. Therefore, I would be an offender. So this is very practical and pragmatic. Many years back, this is a true incident. In one of the temples, there were many senior brahmacharis who were teachers and leaders. And it so happened that all of them had visited one Grihastha's house. It so happened. And this Grihastha informed the other Grihastha that all these senior Vaishnavas, exalted Vaishnavas had come to my house. So it became a competition among other Grihasthas to invite all these senior devotees, and they wanted all the senior devotees to come. And it became like a competition. So here it is mentioned that there is no need to gather many Vaishnavas by invitation. One should take care of it. And here is a classic case from the history. It is a great duty of a Grihastha Vaishnava to show mercy on the poor and fallen. Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is a characteristic of all saintly persons to be kind towards the poor and the fallen. Deena daya kare, ei sadhu svabhava hai. Now, there is again a classic incident regarding this. During Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's time, when he had taken to a yatra to Puri. Now, in the Sakshi Gopal temple, when they had darshan, there were many bhikshukas. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur observed that none of his disciples were giving charity. And there Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave a very heavy lecture. And we should go through that. It is there. It is there in the Harmonist article, and we discussed that in some of our discussions. That it is so important that Grihasthas not only give charity to wherever the institute and the temple they are connected, but in general also, wherever they go to holy places, especially when you go to Parikrama and Govardhan, there are many sadhus there. There are many beggars there. So giving charity is very, very important. And I would like to make a point here that sometimes we think that we are doing some favor to them, but actually they are doing favor to us. They are doing two favors to us. One is you have attachment to money, so they are taking away that attachment. Secondly, there is karma involved there. And they are taking away that karma also. Because they are in the dham. So we should do this kind of seva. It is very important. And it is for all. This is very, very important principle. And I have been many times suggesting this. That, many devotees, when they come for doing parikrama, I suggest that, spontaneously, with an overflowing heart, when you're on the parikrama, do this. Especially not only those who are there, all living beings. There are, the cows, the monkeys. And in fact, one very senior devotee for last 15 years is doing everyday parikrama. And he told me, if at a particular spot, every day if you do sadhu seva, say for the monkeys, you feed them. Now every day they know that at this particular time you are going to come, so they will come. They will give blessings to stay for you to stay in the dham. So if you want to do dham nivas, they are dhamvasis actually. So it's all important, these final principles have to be understood. A Grihastha Vaishnava should not desire to give up his body merely out of some sentiment or anger. This instruction, Mahaprabhu gave it to Sanatana Goswami. Deha tyagadi yanda sabha tamo dharma, tamo rajo dharma krishnera nai paye marva. Acts such as suicide are influenced by the mode of ignorance, and in ignorance and passion one cannot understand who Krishna is. So this pastime is there in Sanatana Shikshana Purana. There is no consideration of superior or inferior status due to social position in regard to worshipping Krishna. In worldly occupation, there are different activities according to different social divisions, which are due to superior and inferior grades of individuals. There is no such distinction in the process of devotional service. So with respect to our Swabhava, there is superior and inferior. But with respect to devotional service, worship of Krishna, it is not there. Open Charitamrita and read the translation. A person born in the low family is not unfit for discharging devotional service to Lord Krishna. Nor is one fit for devotional service simply because he is born in an aristocratic family of Brahmanas. Anyone who takes to devotional service is exalted, whereas a non-devotee is always condemned and abominable. Therefore, in the discharge of devotional service to the Lord, there is no consideration of the status of one's family. There is no consideration. Also, the Chaitanya Charitamrita said, to vanquish the false pride of so-called renunciates, Sannyasi Pandita Ganare Karite Garvanash, he spread real religious principles, even through a Shudra, a low-born fourth class. Each Shudra Dwara Karena Dharmera Prakash. Mahaprabhu is telling this. So what did Mahaprabhu do? He took instructions from a Shudra. Who is that personality? Anyone knows? Ramananda Rai. Now Mahaprabhu is a Brahmana, born in a Brahma family, and he's in the sannyas order of life. And Ramananda Rai is in the Shudra, born in a Shudra family, and he's a Vishay, he's working for a king. So both from the social order and the spiritual order, Ramananda Rai was very inferior. But yet Mahaprabhu took the highest philosophy, the highest, teachings of Madhurya Ras from Ramananda Rai. So to destroy Garvanash, to vanquish the false pride of the renunciates of the religious life. So there is no social consideration with respect to Vaishnavism. And we can see, in Bhaktivedanta Hospital, I was a patient there, and the doctor, he's belonging to the intelligent class, he's also a devotee, and the attendant is also doing his menial duties, but the doctor would also respect the attendant, and the attendant also would respect the doctor. So this is what is required. The Vaishnava society is a classless society. A grahastha should feel satisfied with whatever food and clothing he gets without difficulty. Sabha hoite bhagyavanta Shri Saka Venjan Puna Puna Yata Prabhu Karena Grahan. The spinach and vegetables are the most fortunate of all, for the Lord accepts them again and again. A Grahastha Vaishnava should perform devotional service with undeviated attention, knowing Krishna as the Lord of all. He should not disrespect the demigods worshipped by the smart sampradaya. Now, again, there is Chaitanya Bhava. If one claims to be a Vaishnava, but he disrespects Lord Shiva and does not strictly follow the path exhibited by Lord Chaitanya, all his efforts are futile. Namane Chaitanya Bhava Boliya Vaishnava, Shivara Amanya Kare, Vyartha Aram Sar. So one should not respect the demigods, disrespect the demigods. This is also the second offense in the Holy Name. 23rd. It is the duty of a grahastha to work for the benefit of others, even by giving up his own self-interest. Apnar bhala ho yate jan dikhe, sujana apna chadiyo para prapi. Some people expect only benefits for themselves, but a gentleman cares for others while giving up his own interest. So this, we should act. It is very important. I remember many, many years back, it's 2005, we had gone to Bombay and we were returning back by train. So we were some brahmacharis in one movie. And in the same movie, there were some family grahasthas. And I was very hungry early morning and there was no prasad. So one of the grahasthas, actually, he had prasad. He had not started having prasad. And he came to know, and immediately whatever he was supposed to have, he came and gave it to me. Because I was hungry, I had it, and I did not know that he did not know, he had actually packed it for himself, and he happily gave it. And it's only later on I came to know about it. And till today it is there in my memory. So even for small things, one should give up one's self-interest for a higher purpose. Across the Vaishnava should respect and worship. See. Wherever the Lord sits to chant his rounds, he keeps Tulsi before him. Sankhya Namalayne Eistani Prabhu Vashdev. Taha Rakina Tulsira Prabhu Pasha. He gazes at the Tulsi while he chants his rounds. Tulsira Dekan Japana Sankhya Nam. Who can understand the science of Tulsi? A Bhakti Rogatatva Ki Bhujeve Maan. Now, in our Harinam Chintamani discussion, we have an elaborate discussion on why one should chant in front of those. I asked this question there also, and I'm asking the audience here also. What is the reason one should chant in front of those? Anyone? Yes. Sins. Yes. Pardon? Krishna Bhakti Pradhan. So the reason is that by sitting in front of Tulsi, Tulsi Maharaj has such potency that you can hear the mantra. You can hear it. So that's why even if at our homes you're chanting, better have a place where you can play Tulsi and chant. A householder with devotion is glorious, while a householder without devotion is insignificant. Whatever social dealings a householder has to perform should be done while taking shelter of the holy name of Krishna. Now, the example here is of Kalidas, which you cannot imitate. Kalidas was a very advanced devotee, Mahabhagavate Saral Udahar. Yet he was simple and liberal. He would chant the holy name of Krishna, Krishnam Sakyate Chalaye Vyavahar, while performing all his duty, ordinary dealings. When he used to throw dice in a jest, Kautuke Teno Yadi Pashak Khilaye, he would chant Hare Krishna while throwing the dice. So he would play dice. Now we cannot imitate this. Kalidas is the eternal associate. So the purport is that in all our ordinary dealings, one should chant and do those activities. Everyone is prohibited from corrupt earning or spending, and workers are prohibited from accepting bribes. One who serves the government but misappropriates the government's revenue is liable to be punished by the king. This is the verdict of all scripture. Do not spend any of the king's revenue. First, you should pay the revenue due to the king, and then you may spend the balance for religious and secular duties. Don't spend a farthing for secular activities for which you will be the loser both in this life and the next. So this is again in the past time in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And I don't recollect now the past time, but one of the brothers was a representative of the king. The king had told him to buy horses. And he had done some misappropriation there. And the Raja was supposed to punish him by hanging him. And Mahaprabhu's associates went to tell him to save him. Mahaprabhu said, I am not going to save him. Mahaprabhu said, I am not going to. And ultimately he was saved by Mahaprabhu's thanks only. And he came back to meet Mahaprabhu. And there it is mentioned that although Mahaprabhu saved him, but he could not get Mahaprabhu's mercy. He could not get Mahaprabhu's mercy in the form of pure devotional service. So this is the reason it is mentioned that we should avoid it. A grahastha should accept a spiritual master who is full of devotion and of pure character. As a guru is without devotion, So ahita is that Guru Yatha Bhakti Shudyan Tata Shishyakan. So he should accept the Uttam Adhikari. Letter of instruction also recommends that. A householder should be particularly careful not to commit offenses against the Vaishnavas. When someone offends a Vaishnava, a Vaishnava Sane Aparadha Yara, he is not relieved until he is forgiven by that same Vaishnava. Puna se Shapila na muche nahi. So from tomorrow onwards, we are going to discuss what exactly is Vaishnava Aparadha. It's a long discussion. Serving the devotee is the household's main duty. Taking the remnants of the Vaishnava's food is so valuable that it induced Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to offer Kalidas the supreme mercy. Vaishnava Shesh Pakshara Etike Mahima Kalidas Pailo Prabhu Kripa Sima. The dust of the feet of the devotee, the water that has washed the feet of the devotee, and the remnants of the food left by the devotee are three powerful subjects. Bhakta Pada Duli Ara Bhakta Pada Jal, Bhakta Bhakta Avashesha Tina. So, here it is very important. Now, Kalidas had so much faith in the Uchishta of the Vaishnavas that he attained the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when he went to Puri, Mahaprabhu used to go through the Srimmadwar to take darshan of Jagannath. And Mahaprabhu had his bodyguard in front of him. And at the Srimmadwar, there is a place where you can wash your feet and then enter the Jagannath temple. Now, right when Mahaprabhu was washing his feet, Kalidas came, took the Charanamrit from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu once, twice, three times. Mahaprabhu did not stop him. Even his servants were about to stop. Mahaprabhu said no. Because he had faith in Bhakta Pada Duli, Bhakta Pada Jan. And here Bhakta also refers to a pure devotee. There is a fourth potent. Among these three, there is a fourth one, which is more potent. What is that? Anyone knows? Vani. The dance. Glance. The fourth one is also very, very important. The fourth one is reading the literatures of the Goswamis, beginning from Srila Prabhupada. By reading the literatures, we are situated at their lotus feet. And by following what is there in the literatures, we are attaining their mercy. This is also there. 30th. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna describes how the householder should act until his natural propensity for enjoying sense objects is overcome and he fully attains the characteristics of a pure devotee. Now, this is a very elaborate subject part of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but I just summarize. Jata Shraddhamat Katasu Nirvidna Sarva Karmasu. When one attains complete faith, that for me, I need only the beverage of Krishna Katha. And now I'm disgusted with what? Activities based on my Swabhav. Nirvidna Sarva Karmasu. No? Till that natural propensity is there, he should enjoy. But once he becomes disgusted, then Veda Dukatman Kama Parityag Ap Anishwara. So now he is disgusted, but he might still engage in those activities. But while engaging, he Garahayam means he laments. Oh, why did I, overeat or whatever it is. So his lamentation is also a remembrance of Krishna. When he comes to that point, Tato ma bhajen prita shraddhalu dridhanisha. He is now practicing dridha bhakti. Jushamans tata kama dukha darshanshta garahayam. Garahayam means he sincerely regrets. Previously also, 10 years back I was simply simply diving in the mellows of so-called bhakti like that. So when he comes to that point, then the characteristics of pure devotion, he has attained that, then he is able to practice pure devotion. Till then, he should not. He should continue. When a householder has faith, he should take initiation into the chanting of the Hare Krishna. Now, this is very important. We should develop that faith and conviction and commitment. It is a serious relationship. Just like when you're getting married, it's a serious responsibility one is taking. So similarly is initiation. Shadavan Jan Hai Bhakti Adhikari Uttama Madhyam Kanishta Shadhanusari. A Grahastha Vaishnava must gradually acquire all the qualities mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So these are the 26 qualities. Being merciful, humble, truthful, equal to all faultless companions. These qualities we have all heard about. A Grahastha Vaishnava should be eager to associate with advanced devotees. Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hai Sadhu Sadhu. Out of all the processes of devotional service, one should give earnest attention to the 5 limbs of mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan, Bhagavata Shravan, Madhura Va Shri Prira, Sadaya Sevan, Sakala Sadhana Shveshta, Ei Panchana, Krishna Prema Janmaya, Ei Panchara Alpasa. So the 5 potent limbs, I hope we are all familiar. Sadhu Sangha, Nama Kirtan, Bhagavad Shravan, Mathurava, and Shri Murti Shraddha Sevan. Gradually, one should diminish following the prescribed rules out of obligation and cultivate spontaneous attachment. When spontaneous attachment to the Lord is awakened, many prescriptions are automatically discarded and atonement becomes needless. The difference is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now, yesterday I was mentioning about the Gauna Vritti and the Mukhi Vritti. We have a small degree of attraction towards Krishna and we are practicing devotion. But we know that the impressions based on the Gauna Vritti are there. So, balancing both of them, gradually the Gauna Vritti has to be diminished. And naturally, the Mukhi Vritti of spontaneous attraction towards Krishna should develop. And for that, the most important thing is to hear Krishna Katha. You should get enough time every day to regularly hear Krishna Katha. And that slowly will happen. And the quotation is given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. If a person gives up all material desires and completely engages with the transcendental service of Krishna, as enjoyed in the previous scriptures, Kama Tyaji Krishna Bhaji Shastra Atyamani Deva Rishi Pitradikara Kabu Nahi Rini. He is never indebted to the demigod sages of forefathers. Although the pure devotee does not follow all the regulated principles of Varnashram, Viti Dharmachari Bade Krishna Charan, he worships the lotus feet of Krishna. Therefore, he naturally has no tendency to commit sin. Nisiddha Papachartare Kabu Nahi Mane. If, however, a devotee accidentally becomes involved in a sinful activity, Ajnaniva or Yadi Papa Paskata, Krishna purifies him. Krishna Tandra Kudakare. He does not have to undergo the regulated form of bhakti. Na karaye rashti. Now, this is also a very important subject. That as long as one feels obligation based on the Gauna Vritti, one should follow the rules of Varnashram, which are favorable for devotional service. Only when one is situated on a transcendental platform of pure devotional service, then he is not obligated. That is the point which is mentioned here. And this, this principle of obligation is very, very deep. Even when Krishna and Arjuna were in the Kandava forest, and Arjuna burned the entire Kandava forest and saved Mayadanava. Now, Mayadanava was a demon. But because Arjuna saved him, though being a demon, he felt certain obligation. I want to do some service. And that's why he built that palace where Duryodhana got bewildered. And that was the cause of the Battle of Kurukshetra. So even a demon feels what? A sense of obligation. So the sense of obligation will be there as long as the Gaudvritti impressions are there. So one should follow all the rules of Varnashram, so that one can attain more and more piety, come to the more of goodness, and at the same time practice whatever angas of devotion is practicing. We should not think that I'm a devotee, I'm practicing pure devotion, so these are not necessary. This is very important for us to understand. A Grahastha Vaishnava should not endeavor for any knowledge or renunciation other than the knowledge of one's relationship with the Lord in devotional service and renunciation on from devotional service. If one begins the worship of Krishna with special care and eagerness, then he achieves all auspiciousness. As stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Jnana Vairagadi Bhaktira Kapu Nahi Hak Ahimsa Yamaniyamadi Bhule Krishna Bhaktasa. Jnana and Vairaga, renunciation and speculative knowledge, are not essential for devotional service. All the good qualities like Ahimsa, Yamaniyamadi, control of the mind and senses automatically accompany a devotee of Lord Krishna. When Narad Muni converted Nigari just practiced pure devotion. And that Nigari was killing animals. He was not now ready to see that he will not hurt her and also while offering the sacrifice. So all the qualities manifested. The gradations of devotion to Lord Krishna is stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now these gradations are Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, Anarth-Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava and Prem. So I'll not read this. A Grahastha Vaishnava should constantly chant the holy names by carefully giving up the 10 offenses. Bhajanar Madhya Shrishta Navabhida Bhakti Krishna Prema Krishna Dete Dhara Mahashakti Dhara Madhya Sarvashresh Nama Sankirtan Niraprada Namaloye Vai Premadhan. This is a very famous verse from the Chaitanya. So one should constantly chant. And it all begins by chanting one name attentively. You should hear one Hare Krishna Mahamantra attentively. And then one mantra, and then one round. Then gradually the taste will come to chant. A householder should accept pure devotional service that is not based simply on religious sentiments. Mora Nritya Dekite Puhar Kon Shakti Payapan Karila Ki Mote Hoy Bhakti. What qualification does he have to watch my dancing while drinking milk? Can one attain devotion for me? So this was that Brahmana who used to only drink, sustain on milk. He had requested Srivasa, I want to see Mahaprabhu dancing. So Srivasa had hit him in the Shivasagan. Mahaprabhu that time, he was not feeling ecstasy. He said, is there any one person who is not to be here? Is there? No, there's one. No. Tugdahara Brahmachari. And Mahaprabhu chastised. That is that verse. The mood of servitude is proper for a unity, and the mood of being Lord is detrimental. All sinful persons claim to be God in order to feel their values, although factually they are idiots. Udhara baran lage heavy pakasava loya ishwar amipula janat. Accepting the material body which is meant to be eaten by dogs, they call themselves God under the influence by Lord Vishnu, external Maya energy. So one should have that mood of servitude. Now, these are the 40 principles, and it is difficult to remember the list also. So one should study and try to go and study the Chaitanya Charitamrita where in detail Mahaprabhu has spoken elaborately. So by studying the detail, pastime in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the principle becomes easy to follow. And you can list these 40, and one by one you can keep on taking them as days go by, as years go by. And then slowly you'll be able to follow it. A Grihastha Vaishnava should model his character after that of Lord Chaitanya and his followers. A householder should follow the ways of life and obtain his means of livelihood as exhibited by Lord Chaitanya and his followers. If one desires Krishna in all his activities, then those activities are auspicious. By endeavoring to gratify one's senses and attain irrelevant fruits, one becomes a materialist. For a devotee to remain a householder or to become a renunciate is the same thing. It is the same thing. Srila Ramanand Rai, Sri Pundrik Vidyanidhi, Sri Srivas Pandit, Sri Shivanand Sen, Sri Satyaraj Khan, and Sri Advait Prabhu, they're all Grahasthas and have shown us the way of faultless living. So all these devotees were Grahasthas and their examples are exemplary. The difference between a householder and a renunciate is due to their different means of livelihood. That's it. If the home is favorable for a devotee's devotion service, then he should not leave home. So Prabhupada also in the Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter verses 8 to 12 in the 20 items of devotion, he mentions 4 important principles. He says that in the house, if there is deity worship, kirtan, offering of bhoga, and reading of Gita and Bhagavad happening, then that is very well for advancing Krishna consciousness. But if the house is not favorable, then he can take sannyas. It is a duty to remain a grahastha with detachment. But when the home becomes unfavorable for his service, then he becomes eligible to leave. So I made that statement. Prabhupada also making the same statement. At that time, the detachment he develops from his house through his devotional service is accepted. It is accepted. It is accepted. So I remember many years back, one devotee who was practicing Krishna consciousness and he had some fight at home. So he came to the ashram, stayed one day, and then Maharaj told him, no, you can now next day go back. So this artificial renunciation will not work. One should develop natural renunciation born out of devotional service. For this reason, Srivas Pandit did not leave home. For this reason, Sarup Damodar took sannyas. Sarup Damodar took sannyas. All genuine devotees have remained either at home or in the forest due to this concentration. What is favorable for Krishna's service? Whoever has left home due to this concentration is called a genuine renunciate. Is called as a genuine renunciate. He is always careful not to commit offenses against the holy name. So, after listing these 40 lists, then some fine considerations Bhaktivinoda Thakur is suggesting. So, that's the list of the sadhu vritti of a grihastha. Next, Bhaktivinoda Thakur discusses the sadhu vritti of a renunciate. So, that is another 2 hours discussion. That we'll wait for some other time where we can discuss. And then there are common. There are common between the renunciates and the householders. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, anyone has any questions regarding the 40 principles which Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about sadhu vritti? Any point which was not understood? I know it is difficult because we just went through the list. Any questions or clarifications? Yes, please give the mic. Yes.
When you ask the beggars
Yeah.
Can you clarify if you give an opinion in the Bhagavad Gita to anyone?
So, in general, uh, we should be careful that um, they should not misutilize that money for doing any other reason. Like they take the money and they chew tobacco or do like that. So that that's why you have to be in the mode of goodness for that. Desha Kala Patra. You have to see the situation. So sometimes if some prasadam is left, and if I'm in the train station, I usually don't give it to the beggar like that. I speak to him and I'll see if he's really able to say Hare Krishna. If he says Hare Krishna, then he has some piety because he's now already said Hare Krishna. And I'll ask him whether you are going to have it. And you can sense that he's really hungry and he would like to have it. And then only I would give it to him. Because if you just without any consideration give it to him, he might throw it. And he is also offending and you are also offending. So like that, based on our sattvic buddhi, based on desha kala patra, these considerations have to be taken and you have to take a judicious decision. Is it okay? Pardon? It is a decision and that's why we have to evaluate the situation there, then take a call. Take a call. Any other questions? Anyone have? Yes, ma'am.
You spoke about some Khan, one of the girls, who is this guy?
Satyaraj Khan.
So Khan was a Muslim or who was, you could tell us something more about this.
Satyaraj Khan was a literal associate of Mahaprabhu of the Pinagram. And he was previously, I don't know, his life was mentioned, he was previously a king. And he organized the marriage of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He did all the expenditure. So, not much detail even I am aware, but Satyaraj Khan is an eternal associate of Mahaprabhu. And he was there in the Chaitanya Leela. And they were all grahasthas for the Purinagram. And on behalf of Purinagram Vasis, Satyaraj Khan questioned Mahaprabhu, what is our duty as a grahastha? And that is an elaborate discussion where Mahaprabhu gives the definition of a Kanishta who takes once the name, he is a Vaishnava, yet you have to serve them. And then next year he says one who takes Nirantar the name, he is a Vaishnava, you have to serve him. And then next year he says that just by seeing a Vaishnava, others attain a piety by which they take the holy name, he is a Mahabhagavat, he is a Vaishnava and you have to serve. So this definition of Kanishta, Vaishnava, Uttama and Madhyama based on Nam is established in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Shiksha. So tomorrow we are going to discuss this subject for at least 2 hours. Who is a Kanishta Vaishnava and a Madhyama Vaishnava and Uttama Vaishnava based on Nam. And there it will become more clear. So the main essence of the purport, what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, that all these 3 are Vaishnavas, if they are not religious, and one should serve. One should serve. All 3 categories. That is the point which is made. Any other questions anyone has? Tomorrow for the timings? Yeah, I think Prabhuji will announce. Any other questions, clarifications anyone has? Okay, so land up here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhakti Thakur ki jai. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is that as the express our gratitude. It's now we're going to do for extending this time for from last 2 days, yesterday and today, I'm studying the topic of Buddhist. So let's thank you very one time, Lord, and thank you, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Tomorrow also we will be very fortunate to have the association of Prabhu again. And tomorrow's topic will be most important and vital for all of us, and that is discussion on Vaishnava and book. So this is one of the most important topics because for devotees, one of the most obstacle is Vaishnava. So in order to avoid this, first we need to know what is Vaishnava and also how to avoid Vaishnava. So we will be discussing for the next 2 days, that is Saturday and Sunday. And tomorrow we will be beginning our first session at 11 a.m. in the temple hall. 11 to 1 a.m. And post that, Prasadam will be arranged for everyone in the temple in the ground floor. And again, in the beginning of afternoon sessions, that will be from 3 o'clock will start, and 3 to 4:30. And then we have a short break, again around 5 to 7:30. So we have 3 sessions planned tomorrow, and similarly on Sunday also there is morning session, morning we have 2 sessions, and again in the afternoon we have 2 sessions. So the timings will be posted in the WhatsApp groups. So we request more and more devotees to kindly take advantage of this and come out with more members. And devotees can kindly proceed for this.